Hello everyone, let's talk about Sekiros combat. Oh yeah, just to be sure, I'm not forcing you to believe my subjective opinion about this game. And also I'm not hiring Sekiros professional who sleeps under Sekiros combat guides and plays this game 10 hours a day for 5 years. I am just a skilled dude who beat this game many times and that's it. Nothing more, nothing less. Let's start with combat itself. Is this combat fun? Yes. Is it satisfying? 100%. Is this combat complicated or deep? Well, the answer to that is not that obvious. Okay, so let me ask you one question. What makes a combat system deep or complicated for you? Let's take for example Dark Souls 3 and Devil May Cry 5. First of all, Dark Souls 3. Does this game has a very deep and complicated combat? Yes, because in this game every single person has his own playstyle and the way they fight bosses or mobs. For example me, I have a full guide about Fried, in which I'm beating her in my own very unique style, and this strategy is fun, unique, and most importantly, useful. And I have my own unique strategy against almost every single boss in this game. Because in Dark Souls games, you can take any weapon or style and they all will be very useful. You want to play as a tank? Sure. Fast roller will dagger? Sure. Something balanced between a tank and a fast fighter? Sure. And in my opinion, this is what makes Dark Souls games combat complicated. A lot of unique playstyles, which is both fun and complicated. Yes, some weapons are stronger than others, but that changes nothing, okay? Now let's talk about Devil May Cry 5. In this game, let's take for example Dante. He has 4 style, 4 guns and 4 weapons, and you can and should combine all of these moves together in order to do a very cool looking, cinematic and satisfying moves. And most importantly, this game rewards your combos. The harder and the bigger is your combo, the more damage you will do. You might say the same thing is with Sekiro. You combine different moves in order to do a stylish moves, which will be very effective and not really, to be honest with you. Okay, so in Devil May Cry 5, Dante has over 1 million different combos and almost all of them are very useful against both bosses and basic mobs. But with Sekiro, the situation is not that obvious and a bit complicated, because yeah, you can combine arm tools and combat arts, but let me ask you one question. Are these combines even worth it? What I mean by that, let me explain. Let's talk about arm tools. As you can clearly see, I suffered and I have unlocked almost every single arm tool. And to be honest with you, 90% of all these arm tools are either garbage or very situational. For example, spear. The spear at max update is very useful against phase 2 guardian ape, but other than that, spear fucking sucks. Yeah, it's a long range poke, but first of all, most of the bosses can block spear, and secondly, even if you hit it, it does almost nothing. Raven is kinda useful, but why should I spend 2 emblems on it when I can just parry or dodge enemy attack and after that use firecrackers or flamethrower? Finger works only against animals and spirits, and in a fight against humans, this thing is absolutely useless. This thing is good only against basic mobs or against the very weak early game mini bosses. X is a joke and the only useful one is with fire damage. I will explain why a bit later. Shurikens are useful only against Lady Butterfly and maybe, just maybe, against Father, but that's it. Poison Dagger is pure trash and no one should ever use it. Flamethrower is useful only if you hit enemy with oil and if you have a living flame skill. And realistically, the only arm tools that are useful against everyone is firecracker and head, and that's it. Yeah, some tools are a bit more useful when you charge them with R2, but by the time you charge them, most of the time you will receive a punch, and even if you hit them with full charge, they are not really that effective, to be honest with you. You might say you should combine different arms and combat arts together, and yes, but no. I will give you 2 best examples. The best combos that I found besides firecrackers and mortal draw, which is by far the most effective combo in this game, the combo that I like to use and that also was useful is throw oil at enemy, after that use flamethrower, living flame, sakura dance, and in mid-air use fire X twice. And not only this move looks very cool, it also is pretty useful, not gonna lie. And most importantly, it's not that expensive, especially if you have this consumable which gives you 15 bonus emblems. And now the other example. I wanted to see what would happen if I procced both poison and fire damage on enemy, and it fucking sucks, to be honest with you. Not only poison takes eternity to stack on enemy and consumes a lot of emblems, if you stack it, it really isn't that effective. Like for this many resources, it does a very small amount of damage. You can compare it if you want, and you will realize that it did just a bit more damage than will full fire damage. Or in this game you can combine fire and poison damage. If yes, then fuck these combat combinations. And also about my flamethrower combo. This combo is very useful only if you all enemy, then use flamethrower, then got your weapon on fire, then use sakura dance, and in lane used fire X without oil and especially without sakura dance and living flame. This combo fucking sucks. So realistically, the most useful combo in this game is firecrackers and mortal draw, which just melts enemy posture and health, especially if you have a red candy. Holy fuck, how many bosses you can destroy with this combo, it's not even funny. Speaking of combat arts, the situation with them is no better. I tested nearly all of them, and almost all combat arts either suck or are very situational. Let's take for example this move. As it appeared, this move is very useful against Demon of Hate because it allows you to quickly dash towards him and get under him, but this same move is absolutely useless against Genichiro, All, or Ishin because they all can block it, and even if you hit it, it does a joke amount of damage. The situation with other combat arts is no better because almost any boss in this game can block 95% of all combat arts, and even if you hit them, it does a very low amount of damage. And that's one of the biggest problem with almost all combat arts in this game. They all, almost all of them do less damage than just a regular R1, and they all don't have some kind of effect. By that I mean that besides Ichimonji double, Mortal Draw, and Sakura dance, they all are just a cool moves in order to be cool looking moves, and that's not really good. Yeah, One Mind and Dragon Slash are good, but their cast time is bigger than Hidetaka's boner when he creates another Poison Swamp Arena. Also, while watching video combos about Sekiro, many people used some cool looking combos only against a mini bosses or basic mobs, and this is the same as if I started to prove to you why, for example, Ledo's hammer is OP just because it allows you to one-shot basic mobs, or because it allows you to stunlock pontiff beasts. Against a real bosses, almost every single combat art or arm tool is either situational or just garbage. Okay, let's take the most popular combat art besides Mortal Draw, which is objectively the best combat art in this game. Let's take Ichimonji double and Sakura dance. Ichimonji double fucking sucks. First of all, after you finish its cast time, you can't do anything for 1 second. Like in this video, as soon as I finished hit, I was spamming all my buttons and my character refused to move, and even if you make a clean hit, what it does, first of all, this thing either can be fully blocked by enemies, yes, even by basic mobs in early game, and secondly, even if you manage to hit, it does a very low amount of damage. Like, the most useful thing Ichimonji double does is that it lowers your posture bar a bit, but in this game, as long as you deflect, you won't get your posture bar broken, and come on, it's not a huge advantage. Secondly, let's take Sakura dance. This move on its own is absolutely useless. This move is useful only if you combine it with something else. boss. For example, will fire damage or will bloody ninjutsu. And yeah, it's cool and allows you to combine this move with many arm tools, which allows you to use many cool looking combos. But first of all, in order to even get this move, you have to beat Inner Genichiro, which is not the easiest thing to do. Secondly, yes, Sakura Dance allows you to combine it with many arm tools and ninjutsus, but most of the time any boss will hit you in mid combo and you are fucked. So realistically, the most useful and most effective combat art is Mortal Draw, which allows you to basically bully every single boss in this game. You might say you can do the same thing with Dark Souls 1 and take Black Knight Halberd and bully every single boss in this game. And yes, but there is a small detail. For example, in Dark Souls 1, Claymore will strength scale and with lighting resin will always outscale and outdamage Halberd in late game, and especially in New Game Plus. While in Sekiro, even on New Game Plus, there is not even a single combat art that will outscale Mortal Draw. Once again, you can do whatever you want and beat bosses with the very first combat art that you will get in this game, but this will be the same as if you were fighting Nameless King with a starting Knight Sword on +1. Now let's talk a little bit about basic mobs. I will take this dude in late game because you can just two-shot him with R1. I used Oil, Fire X, Flamethrower and Sakura Dance, and it all was out-damaged with just Mikiri counter, will 2 or 3 R1 and will 2 parry. And to be honest with you, unless you use Mortal Draw or unless you spend all 25 emblems on useless combos, the best way to kill or beat bosses or basic mobs is just parry them and use Mikiri counter. Like, let me give you an example. Let's take for example Corrupted Monk. She realistically has 2 phases, and in phase 1 you should just parry and Mikiri counter her over and over, and in her final phase just pump her with firecrackers and Mortal Draw, and trust me, it's much more effective and takes less time than for example trying to combine Fire and Sakura Dance. The same thing with Ishin. Just parry and Mikiri counter his phase 1, in phase 2 just remove his health bar with firecrackers and Mortal Draw, and in his final phase just ricochet lighting at him. No, you can still try to combine some moves like me, but remember, Mortal Draw and firecrackers will always do more damage and will be more useful than any other combo in this game. Trust me, I have 3 full folders with Sekiros combos, with different arm tools and combat arts, and there are only 2 effective combos. Burn baby burn with Sakura Dance, and now you see me, now you don't. Also, let's talk about a very popular myth about Sekiro's combat. First of all, many people just can't shut the fuck up about the fact that Sekiro on New Game Plus is harder than any Dark Souls game on New Game Plus 7. And that's just a pure bullshit and lie. I played this game on New Game Plus and I swear, I brutally bullied every single boss and mini-boss in this game besides Ishin. Yeah, you can remove Kuro's amulet and make your life harder, but this is the same as if you try to play Dark Souls 2 on New Game Plus while being fully hollow. Secondly, many people say that this game forces you to play it perfectly, and yes, it forces you, but it forces you to literally be a nerd. Like, let's take Midir. I died on him more time than against any Sekiro boss, and my thoughts were not, oh, this game forces me to play it perfectly. I will remember in which pose he farts and I will destroy him. No, my thoughts were, oh, I am getting wrecked over and over with my current build, time to use a different tactic. And in the end, I got him with Pharaoh Greatswords. But in Sekiro, you are absolutely forced to know in which moment what move boss will do. For example, Ishin. When you see a red symbol, the only way to know what you should do is to look at boss weapon position, and after you remember his weapon position, you can either dash or jump. And this is not a high skill player, this is literally a nerd who knows every single boss move. Like for example Pontiff. Is he a harder boss? Yeah, he is, but if someone told me that he beat Pontiff on first try, I can easily believe that, because because a high skilled player can beat most Dark Souls bosses on their first attempt, but in Sekiro, no matter how skilled you are, you have no chance against any boss unless you remember in which pose boss farts, or unless you find a specific arm tool that completely removes any difficulty. For example, Demon of Hate, one of the dumbest and hardest boss in this game, who wrecked me over and over, but the second I used the firefighter head and a finger, he got easy destroyed. And this is not really fair or interesting, like find a specific finger and put it inside his ass or he'll wreck you over and over. Just wow, what an interesting fight, what an interesting fight. Like, how many of you killed at least one Sekiro's boss on your first try? And remember one important thing, being stuck on a hard boss doesn't make you unskilled player. It just means that you weren't careful, or that you were greedy or underlevel. And let me ask you one question. Are you stuck on Sekiro's bosses because bosses are hard, or because game is not fair towards you, because you are forced to remember what the boss does perfectly, and also this game forces you to play with only one style: hit, hit, parry, hit, hit, parry, and then jump or dash. Yeah, in Sekiro you can try to do some wombo combos and try different combat arts or combine arm weapons, but like I said earlier, almost every single arm weapon and combat art is absolutely useless or very situational. Once again, this game's combat is not bad. It's a very fun and dynamic combat, but this combat is not even close to be complicated because you are forced to play with only one style. And even if you try to be creative, this game doesn't really reward your efforts. Yeah, you can say that some dude killed Sekiro bosses at level 1 and will just be killing counters and parries, but come on. Are we really going to compare a normal player and a nerd who has nothing to do in his life besides doing a dumb challenges, aka beating Elden Ring bosses with fist only and at soul level 1? If you say that they are a high skill players, I will laugh at your face because these people are the definition of a nerd. People who know every single pixel in this game, who can beat any boss even while playing on bananas with one hand while their balls are getting smashed, are not the normal players or skilled players. So please just don't compare speedrunners who are playing the same game for many years to a normal players. Anyway, with this I will say bye bye to you and I will see you next time.